What's up, guys? So, after, I don't know, a few months of running mods and using my Umarex stuff and my Byrna and my Assault Supply S2 and all the random BB guns and all that stuff I have, I pretty much still, for a self defense or home protection, or if I'm mobile, like in my car or like out in public, in the state I live, California, you can't really you can't show these publicly. It's against the law. I could get, whatever actions or whatever taken against me if I end up using this in public or brandishing it or like having it visible in a holster or something. But overall, like even with all the mods and everything, the reliability of these is like second to none. Like the Byrna SD doesn't have the power that a modified T4E HDP50 or TR50 or TR68 HDR68, that giant freaking Dirty Harry revolver pistol thing. Like it doesn't have the power that those have, but I've had zero issues with this. Like it's always fired. I've never had a bolt get jammed. It's constantly it just works all the time. And I've never had any issues with this. And if it is an issue I've ever had, it's because I didn't tighten my cap down enough. But like it always feeds correctly. It always shoots. And like it's very reliable. I've never had any issues with this. With the HDP 50 and the TR 50 and the TR 68, the Umarex products, I don't know if it's the ones that I have, but coincidentally, every single one I have, I've had some sort of issue like on camera where it doesn't want to fire, or like the detent breaks, or it like a spring comes loose and then like the revolver barrel drum magazine doesn't like keep going. Like it just stops working. So I've had those issues with those markers, and yes, they're very cheap. Like they're only like $100 or 120 bucks or whatever, and they have more power once they're modified. But reliability is a concern with if you're using this to protect yourself or your family or loved ones or whoever. So since that's the issue, at least for me, and like I mean, I have four of those things, and every single one has given me some sort of issue, but I've never had any problems with the Byrna SD, and I've never had any problems with my Salt Supply S2. It's just from my perspective, these are very, very reliable. This is obviously a lot cheaper than the Byrna SD, but it also has more power. So if you're kind of new to less lethals, or you don't really know what to get, and you want something that this isn't necessarily very concealable. Like if you're a big dude or a big person, you can probably put this on your person and you won't be able to see it, especially if you wear baggy clothes or if it's cold in your area, and like you constantly have like sweatshirts or jackets or flannel shirts or something like that. You can probably conceal this better. I'm only like 5.5 feet tall, like 180 pounds, 170 pounds. So I can't really conceal this that well. I'm in Southern California, so it's kind of warm all the time. So like in the wintertime, I could probably conceal this, but I had to be wearing a flannel shirt or a jacket. And I have holsters and stuff that will fit this, and like a on person, like kind of like chest protect, not a protector, but like a belt that kind of sticks to your chest, like a over the shoulder kind of holster, concealed carry kind of thing. I have one of those that this will fit in, but unless I'm wearing a flannel shirt or a sweatshirt or something in this sort of warm weather, we don't get snow around here and stuff, I can't really conceal this that well. I can conceal the Byrna SD much better than the Salt Supply S2, but I can't use pepper balls legally in my state. And I have plenty of kinetic rounds. I've had the most success or like highest joule ratings using the Byrna kinetic rounds and the nylon balls, the 3.6 gram nylon balls, any brand basically. Um, I think because this does not have moving parts, it's basically just like an air line that goes here and then to like a valve, and the valve just pushes air out. There's no bolt or spring or like tube or anything that like flies forward. This has a bolt guide and a bolt that flies forward and hits the ball, plus air shoots out. So that's kind of the main differences between these, aside from like proprietary randomness that Byrna does with the way that their air system works and stuff. But this has the power, definitely has the power. Rapid firing, this was better than the Salt Supply S2. I've never had issues with the Salt Supply S2 not feeding correctly, not shooting when I pull the trigger, when there's, pressure in there. I've shot 700 rounds or something out of this before I took it apart and put grease and stuff, and it worked completely fine. Before I even put grease in it and maintenanced it, it was working completely fine. There's no issues with it at all. Like, this is a really good marker. It's cheaper than this. It's just big. So like, if you are a smaller person, or like you're not that big of a frame guy or lady or whatever, you probably can't conceal this very good. This is a 12 gram adapter. Not all of them are going to look like that, but as you can see, it's shorter than the S2. With this adapter, it's almost the same length from the back of the barrel to the front. And the handles don't really align that well, but I mean, you can see the difference in size. And but yeah, the issue with this one is it doesn't have the power. So if you want to put someone down with kinetic rounds and you can't legally use pepper balls in your state, then you just got to choose. You want a bigger pistol that's like more powerful, but it's not less concealable, or do you want a smaller pistol that you can conceal easier, and if you have to rapid fire it, like dump your mag, you will be able to dump the mag and have higher feet per second and more shots with the Byrna SD. That's one thing that the Byrna SD has an advantage of, is when I did rapid fire testing with this, it was more consistent, it had less drop off, and it still was able to pull like 15-20 shots off of one 12 gram CO2 cartridge. When I do rapid fire with this guy, it drops the most, and I only get like 10 shots out of one CO2 cartridge. The whole point of less lethal is just to shoot something or a target, shoot it, like shoot the hell out of it, and then like escape or get away. It basically just gives you that 5 or 10 seconds that you need to like safely get away from a target or an aggressor, I guess you can call them. But yeah, the Byrna SD on a normal day, normal temperatures and everything, like 75 degrees, 80 degrees, for me at least, I could get 15-20 shots out of this, but they're like 14 joules, 13 joules, 12 joules, not that strong. With this guy, on a normal day, same temperatures, like 75, 80 degrees, this thing will get at least 10 shots, like 8 will be pretty powerful, and that will be like 20 joules, 21 joules. And then it'll start to go down to like 16 or 15, which is what this starts at. So you'll get more power out of this, less shots, more power. But if you're rapid firing it, I think it went like 20 joules and then like 18 and a half and then 17 and then 16 and a half and 15. But overall, this, even with the first 5 shots, this is still more powerful than the Byrna SD. And then obviously there's a design a huge design difference because the barrel loads underneath. I'm sorry, the magazine loads underneath the barrel, and the 12 gram CO2 cartridge goes here, and it's the complete opposite with the Byrna SD. So 12 gram cartridge up here, and the magazine pops out down here. So, like in that respect, they're complete opposites. So yeah, magazine here, CO2 cartridge in the handle, CO2 cartridge right here. If you're using a stock SD with the 8 gram cart, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm pretty sure like 13.8, 13.5 joules was the highest I've gotten out of an 8 gram cartridge. I haven't tried it like with a heated cartridge, like a hot day, hot cartridge. I'm pretty sure it'll probably max out like at 15 or 16 with like optimum conditions, but it's just a couple things to think about. And yeah, with these like magazines being in different areas, if you're used to having any sort of like lethal firearm, or if you already have a Byrna SD and you just want something different, or you're thinking of getting Assault Supply S2, you're gonna have to train with it because these differences are sort of like, I guess, deal breakers, or like they're pretty large obstacles to overcome, especially if you're used to using this, because this has been out for, I don't know, since like 2021, 2022. I forgot when it got released. I've had this one for about 2 years. It was yellow, as you can see down there. Used to be yellow. I put permanent marker on it. It hasn't really like settled in. It's been a while since I put that on there, so it still kind of like leaks onto my fingers. Eventually I might wipe it off and just paint it, but yeah, this is completely different, like air and magazine locations, but overall power, this totally has the edge. And yeah, they're just really reliable. Like I said earlier, the Umarex stuff, I've had issues where it doesn't want to fire, or like it'll randomly just stop working, or a spring pops out or comes loose or something, and it may have been my fault because I didn't like tighten down a couple screws good enough. But like overall, I've never had any feeding or firing issues with these two less lethal pistols. And these are actually marketed as less lethal pistols. If you have a modified paintball gun, like the T4E stuff, you could possibly land in some sort of hot water if you ever get put on a trial or like a court case or something, because you're using a modified paintball gun instead of a less lethal pistol. These are stock aside from this thing, which allows me to use a 12 gram cartridge. But Byrna sells a Byrna boost like adapter thing. It's essentially the same thing that this does. It just allows you to use a 12 gram cartridge, which are way easier to find in stores and stuff. But yeah, yeah, I would recommend these. The T4E stuff is nice. If you have, if you have budget constraints and stuff, go ahead and get a T4E, but just keep in mind that it might not happen to you, but for me, I've had issues with them where they don't want to fire and stuff like that. But they are very fun to shoot. When they work good, they work really good, and they do outperform both of these. The 50 cal stuff, like as a paintball player, because I used to play paintball, everyone was using 68 caliber rounds, rifles, markers, whatever. Everything was 68 caliber. When they introduced 50 caliber stuff, it's kind of like for little kids, because 50 cal markers, like paintball markers specifically, 50 cal, it has less impact because it's such a smaller round. It doesn't, like when you get hit by a paintball, it bursts and you still feel that hit, and you can feel like impact and like it pops and there's paint splat, But when you get hit by a 50 cal paintball, It's a smaller ball. It is probably traveling a little bit faster than a 68 caliber, and it's like exploding when it hits you. I've never been hit by a 50 cal solid round or a 68 caliber solid round, but just judging by getting hit by a 68 caliber paintball, which is like 10 to 12 joules, it explodes when it hits you. It's not like a solid impact from an object that is like dense. Paintballs do bruise and they hurt, but when you have adrenaline going or you're used to it, it's not going to put you on the floor. I think a 20 cal or a 20 joule or a 25 joule hit from this thing, like metal ball or a plastic hard nylon ball or a rubber round with steel core on the inside, that will probably at least make you flinch. If not, like, if you're not someone that's used to getting hit by stuff or you don't have a high pain tolerance, you'll probably back off or go the other way if you get hit by this. This is hitting like 14 joules. So if you get hit by this thing, unless you have a pretty high pain tolerance or you're just amped up on adrenaline or you're on drugs or something, you're probably not going to keep advancing on someone that you're aggressing or being aggressive against or whatever. But like, they'll work. This one will work better, I'm pretty sure, just because of the impact and the joule ratings and stuff I've gotten off of these readings. But I'm not going to be volunteering myself to get hit by these, just because you never know what could happen. You get hit in the eye or take a groin shot or like a shot to the neck. That would suck, especially if you're getting hit by an aluminum ball or a nylon round. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this will stop somebody. If it doesn't stop someone, they're just, they're strung out on something, or they just have way too much adrenaline pumping through their system. But the whole point of these is to shoot something, a target, an aggressor, and get out like of the situation you're in. So dump the mag and get the hell out of there. Like, you're not going to stick around. You're not going to keep reloading and shooting and reloading and shooting and taking this off and putting a new air cartridge and then reloading and shooting again. That's not what these are for. These are for just popping off 5-6 shots and then getting out. Like, leave. Like, get the hell out of there. You're not supposed to be like taking on an army or like taking on groups of people and stuff. So that's just my overall like sense of everything I've done the past couple months with all the random T4E stuff and these two pistols and like my BB guns and everything. Like, the BB guns that I have, they actually never had any jams or anything, but I use them a lot less than these. I've never taken this apart because it looks like a pain in the ass to pull apart and reassemble. I have taken this apart. It's very easy to take apart. The screws are way better than what's on the Umarex pistols. Like, these are kind of big. The Umarex pistols, the screws are very small. The heads are small. They strip pretty easily. One of my screws on the TR50, it just out the box, it didn't want to come loose. I had to get a drill and drill out the screw head because it just didn't want to come out. So that was an issue, but if you're not modding the T4E stuff, you'll be fine. It's just going to be really low powered unless you have like the upgraded 11 joule or 16 joule versions of all those T4E products. But yeah, if you're new to less lethal and you don't know really where to start and you have the money and you want concealability, you would go with Byrna SD probably. But if you have, even if you have the money, which this was like $230 or something. I don't know if they still have these bundles, but the bundles are $250 for this gun and one magazine and a holster, or you can get this Salt Supply S2 and two magazines for $250, which is a really good deal. But yeah, this has more power. It doesn't have the efficiency of CO2 air cartridge use that the Byrna SD does, but it has more power. But if you can use pepper balls, I mean, maybe go with this. If you cannot use pepper balls legally, or if you want to try using them not legally, that's up to you. But this will work fine with pepper balls. They won't pop in it or break and expose you to it. But if you're in a house or in a short distance kind of situation, like say your bed is like 5 feet from the door and you shoot a pepper ball 5 feet across from you, you're going to smell that pepper ball. You're not going to get away from that. So you wouldn't want to use a pepper ball in a short distance situation. You would want to use it further away where the pepper ball pops and then it's like 10-15 feet away from you and you can retreat back from it. You don't want to go toward it because there's a cloud of dust that's going to affect you. But yeah, overall, I would use these over Umarex stuff. Because yeah, like this is double the price of an Umarex product. If you do not feel comfortable or know how to take apart an Umarex product like the HDP50 or TR50 or TR68 or HDB or any of the other Umarex stuff, I would just get this. If you have like the $380 or whatever you need to buy this, almost $400, you could go with that, but you can get two of these and still almost pay as much as one of these. You're not going to need to, but yeah, like I would go with the Salt Supply S2 all day, every day over the Byrna SD. If I had any issues loading this or having some random issue with it not firing or something, then I would obviously go with the Byrna SD. But both of these, I've never had any issues with them. But yeah, price points and jewel ratings is why I would pick the Salt Supply S2 over the Byrna SD, because at its base rate, this is $230, and it's hitting like 20 to 21 joules using plastic nylon rounds. This is $380 pretty much, and it's only getting 12 to 14 joules. So yeah, but both of these, they cost more than the T4E product line, but to me, in the 4 T4E products that I have, or even 5 that I've had, every single one of them has had an issue. And these are way more reliable, and I've never had any issues with these. Like, yeah, I don't know how many times I repeated myself in this video, but I've never had issues with these firing, not feeding correctly. Like, they've always just worked. And if you're defending yourself or you need this to work in an emergency, I would go with either of these. But this is obviously cheaper and more powerful, but it's newer. Like this just came out in 2024, and this came out 2 or 3 years ago, and they haven't made any updates or revisions to this aside from the Byrna LE, and that thing's like close to $500 unless you can get some sort of sale on it. So you could get 2 of these for the price of one Byrna LE. But the LE sometimes, like I've seen mixed reviews where people say it works great, and then other people are like, it worked for 2 magazines and then it broke and it started leaking, or like just shit happens to the Byrna LEs. That's kind of why I haven't bought one. Like if I'm going to spend $500 on a less lethal pistol, I'd get the gavel, the Grimberg gavel, or I would just get an actual firearm, like a 9mm or a 45 or a 40 or a revolver, like anything else aside from a less lethal pistol. If I'm going to spend $500 on something, I would get a lethal firearm, or like 2 shotguns, or a rifle and a shotgun, or just something not less lethal. Because at this point, I have 15 or 16 of these things, different brands, different calibers. And overall, yeah, these have been the most reliable. So if you're thinking of getting one of these and you're not sure what to get, and you've seen all these videos, all this information about all kinds of stuff, and maybe you are comfortable taking apart things and you're used to using your hands and working with tools and taking apart screws and reassembling things and all that, you can get the Umarex stuff. It's good, it works. But if you want long lasting reliability and it'll work every single time you use it, get one of these. Because, yeah, the Umarex stuff, it's good, it works, but I've had issues with them where they just don't want to shoot or whatever. So, yeah, just take that for what it's worth, and see you on the next video.